Hi guys, my name is Matti Sulanto and I'm a photographer. Let's talk about that weird Nikon aspect ratio. In my recent video, I was complaining how Nikon bakes in the aspect ratio even in RAW files. So if I'm using any other aspect ratio than the native aspect ratio of the sensor, it's baked in even in RAW files. So if I in post would like to recover the full sensor area, it's impossible. With every other camera, it's possible. They will show me the sort of the pre-cropped picture in post, but I can still change the crop or even recover the full sensor area. Only Nikon bakes in the aspect ratio, even in RAW files. And I got quite a few comments for that video from people who absolutely had no idea what I was talking about or what my problem is. And some of those comments used such a strong language that I had to remove those comments. So let me explain why I said that and why it's a problem for me. Because I have a very specific user case scenario for 16:9 aspect ratio. If I go out for a photo walk and casually shoot pictures like recreational photography, I will always use the native aspect ratio of the sensor, whatever it is, depending on the camera. I never use any cropped aspect ratios. If I need to crop, I do it in post, and I usually don't crop a lot, but if the picture clearly improves by a little bit of cropping, I do that. However, I have one specific situation where I need 16:9 aspect ratio on a regular basis. And that is when I shoot my YouTube video covers, those thumbnails. They are 16:9. And it is so much easier, so much more convenient to shoot that if I can see the final crop in camera. I can make sure that everything fits in that aspect ratio. Maybe it's a camera, maybe it's something else, but I can make sure it fits in, and I can make sure there's enough room for the title and some other things that I might add in post. However, when I'm working on the thumbnail in Lightroom and Photoshop, I quite often realize that it would be nice to have some extra room at the top of the picture or at the bottom of the picture, and at that point it is super nice or pretty much essential to have the full sensor area at my disposal so I can move the framing up and down within the sensor area. Of course, I could use AI to expand my canvas area, but that would take more time, and the results are still today sometimes a little bit unpredictable. And if I was still shooting commercial assignments, I would do the same. Let's say my client wants a square picture. I would use the square crop in the camera to be able to compose the picture the way my client wants, but it would still be like a good backup and insurance to be able to still reframe the shot in camera just in case the client changed their mind. That can happen, and all of a sudden they can figure out another use for that picture that requires another aspect ratio, maybe 3:2 or whatever, not square. If I only have that square frame, then I might be in trouble. I can and I could, of course, handle all those situations without any in-camera crop. But if I can see the final crop, the final aspect ratio in camera, it just makes it so much easier and more convenient. And also, just in case there is the client also present in the shoot, it's easier for them also to evaluate the end result if they can see the final aspect ratio. And just to clarify, this is not the same thing as full frame crop versus APS-C crop. Of course, if you have an APS-C lens on your full frame camera, it makes perfect sense to crop the picture in camera to its final dimensions because the lens can't cover the full sensor area. That client part, of course, does not concern me anymore. I have a commercial background in photography, but I gave that up several years ago already, and today I'm just another recreational photographer, but my commercial background still affects the way I do things. However, if your background is in recreational photography, it may not make any sense to you what I just explained, and that is just fine. You don't have to do things my way, and I don't have to do things your way. There are so many shooting scenarios in the world. There are commercial advertising photographers, there are conflict zone photographers, there are nature photographers, there are wildlife photographers, sports photographers, and street photographers, and whatnot. So the same workflow, same working habits simply won't work for everyone. And therefore, it makes no sense to call me an idiot if the Nikon aspect ratio is weird to me. I'm not calling you an idiot if you don't understand what I just explained about the aspect ratio of the Nikon. There is no right and wrong in photography, and I think it's always important to keep an open mind and try to understand that we all don't have the same workflow, we all don't use our cameras the same way. And I think that's only richness and good, and that may give us new ideas when we discover some other new ways to do things. I admit the aspect ratio issue maybe blew out of proportions in that previous video, but it struck me as odd because only Nikon does it this way. All other cameras have the other approach, and they preserve the full image area no matter what crop I use when I shoot raw pictures. But having said that, I still think this is an excellent camera. I would not even have bought this if I didn't think so. This would just not be my primary choice for my YouTube thumbnails. But I can find plenty of other uses for this camera, no problem. And there is going to be more Nikon topics on this channel in the future. I hope this clarifies the issue that I have with this specific feature in Nikon cameras, and I hope you will encounter the most amazing photo moments in the future, and you'll be able to capture some amazing photos. Thanks so much for joining in. If you found this entertaining or useful, please consider buying me a cup of coffee. There's a link down below for that. If you don't live in Finland, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.